Aloha and welcome to this experience called Digits Part 1. We're going to start developing a simple Meteor application called Digits. And we're going to do this in several phases. And this is what I recommend you do when you start developing an application in Meteor, is you first create mock-ups. And this is useful if you're doing various kinds of requirements, elicitation. For example, you might make use cases. And if you're doing use cases, it's really nice to have screenshots to kind of illustrate what you're planning to do. And you can basically create your screenshots by mocking up Meteor pages almost as easily as just doing it in regular files in HTML. And then when you're done, you've got a Meteor app and it's easier to expand. So I'm going to show you kind of how to do that. Anyway, we're going to build something that looks like this. To start, we're just going to build the home page. It's not going to be interactive at all. We're going to have kind of static text and everything, but it's going to be a Meteor app. So let's see how that would work. And before starting this WAD, you should find a picture to use for the cover image. So that thing, you got to find an image out there. Find something good that you don't mind sharing with other people. And so, for example, here's mine. Okay, that I found. So you should go off and find your own, because you're going to need that image. And there's no sense spending time during the WAD like surfing around the internet looking for images. So find that before you get any further. The other thing is that I think you should watch the screencast before you even try to do the WAD, because Meteor's a little complicated. You probably don't have it you're probably not real comfortable with it yet. So I think watching the screencast in this case before you start is a good idea. And then I've divided the WAD into two parts: kind of initial installation, where we're going to set up the Meteor application template, and then a second part where we create the homepage mockup. All right, so let's see how we can do this. I got to start the timer, and I realize I don't have a timer. So let me go to Applications, find me a timer. Go back to the desktop. Okay, so we've got a timer here someplace, I'm sure. There it is. And we'll say start. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is go and get Meteor application template. And the directions, the idea here is that we're going to download a zip file and show it in the Finder. And just for grins, let's just move it to the desktop where things are a little easier to look at. So we're going to get that, let's go back to, so I'm kind of stepping through it the way you would. So I download a zip version, I'll expand it, I'll copy everything. Oh, fudge, I forgot to create the Git repository called Digits. So I go to GitHub, and I'll go to my profile, and then I'll say, here's my repos, new repo, I'm going to call it Digits, and we'll make it a README file, and we'll say create repo, and then we'll say clone, so we'll open in desktop, and we'll find my personal directory and say clone. Okay, so we got that happening. Let's go back here. Okay, now we're going to import, we downloaded the zip version of Meteor application template. We'll expand it, we'll copy everything but the README file into Digits. So let's go back to the Finder. We'll go here, and we want the git ignore, the app, the configure, the doc. I said everything but the README file. I guess that includes the license. We can adjust that later. And so then I got to find the Digits directory that I just created, and I'll paste all that stuff in there, which is what I was supposed to do. And then I need to, in my terminal, we want to go to the Digits directory in the app, do Meteor npm install. So we'll say cd github Philip M. Johnson Digits app. And then I'll say Meteor npm install. And so stuff will happen for a couple seconds. I always hear Jeopardy music in my head, you know, the final answer thing stuff. Okay, and then just to make sure that, you know, sanity check, let's just run this command and see. Part of learning to do development, I think, you know, in a laptop environment is really being able to switch back and forth between the console and the browser and IntelliJ. Learn how to do that fast, you know, so that you can develop faster. Okay. All right. So we're building, and hopefully in a couple seconds. Or a couple minutes. We'll have this puppy going. There's not a lot I can do while it's building, unfortunately, but I guess I can get ready to say http://localhost 3000. So that's going to kind of pause until this gets done. I think we're almost there. It's going to burn up like a minute of our WAD right here, just getting the first build. Apparently they're working on faster initial build times. Once it's built the first time and we're just doing the refresh, that's, you know, generally only a 10 or 15 second process. But this first time, for some reason, can be arduous. Okay, finally. Okay, so there we are in localhost 3000. We've got the application template working. That's the good news. Okay, so now let's go into IntelliJ and create the project for our repo. So we'll say create new project, static web, find the GitHub repo associated with this project, which is in my directory in digits. I'll say finish. Okay, and you can see we've got the files there. And now we're going to go back and we need to make sure our JavaScript coding standards, so in preferences, editor code style, we'll make sure that preferences, editor code style, JavaScript, we've got our ICS coding standards, good. And then in we're going to disable the JavaScript inspections in Preferences Editor Inspections JavaScript. Preferences Editor Inspections JavaScript. So we'll get rid of those. We'll say OK. And then we'll define ECMAScript 6 in Preferences Language and Frameworks. Preferences Languages and Frameworks JavaScript. ECMAScript 6. Again, it would be super great if, you know, we could just globally define this stuff, but I'm not sure how to do that. Then in Preferences, JavaScript Code Quality eslint, we got to specify eslint. So we'll go back here, Preferences, JavaScript, Code Quality Tools, eslint. We're going to enable it, and then the important thing is that we want to be using the local version of the eslint package. So this is also kind of a little painful at first, you know, but fortunately you only have to do it once per project. So we'll go into Users, Philip Johnson, GitHub, Philip M. Johnson, Digits, App, Node Modules, and finally, we get the eslint. Fortunately, eslint is so incredibly useful. It finds so many errors and just makes your development process so much faster that it is indeed worth the hassle to get it enabled. Firmly believe that. Okay, so we've got the JavaScript coding standards. So everything's all set up fine. So now let's go back to GitHub. And what we're going to say, we'll move to the head. And what we're going to do is commit all this stuff so that we've got a backup. So we've kind of got a checkpoint. And we should say installed Meteor application template as our string. So propeller C, and then propeller V. Commit and sync master. So we'll watch the sync thing there. And bam. Okay. So at 8 minutes, we've finished the initial installation. Probably 3 of that was just waiting for, you know, the crazy Meteor to build the system for the first time. Okay, but at least now we can get to work. So we're going to edit the package.json so that the name field is digits. So we'll go into app, package.json, and we'll find this says Meteor application template. That's bad. So let's fix that. And we want to edit client head.html to make the title of our app digits, because again, that's going to say Meteor application template. That would be bad. And then we move the padding top from imports UI style site style. Yeah, so as you'll soon see, we've got to add this this menu item to the top. I forgot that instruction, but I'm going to do it anyway, so that you can see how it works, and then I'll update the instructions afterwards. So let's go to our digits right now, and if we refresh, we can see that it's not looking exactly the way we want, because what we want is the image to go at the top. Okay, so let's just do that right now. And in order to do that, the first thing we need to do is move the image into our application, and then specifically we need to move it into the public images folder. So the way we do that is we go back to the Finder, we go to the desktop, we find our image, which we've downloaded from the internet, we copy it, and then we go find our app, which happens to be here, and in the app public images directory, that's where we want to put it. Okay? And then we want to add this to the top of our page, and in order to do that, we've got to go back and we've got to update the place in the UI where that's done. And that's, if we look at this, we say, okay, there's the app body consists of a header, the content, and the footer. So if we look in header, here's where we have the default stuff. Okay, and you can see that we've got the menu stuck to the top. So we want to get rid of that top fixed. And then we want to insert underneath the header an image. And there's a lot of ways you can figure out what that image tag is. You can look at the prior code from your Island Snow application. Let's maybe just show you how I did that. If I say open recent Island Snow, okay, what we find is in the index.html, here we had the full screen fluid image. So I'll take that and I'll copy it, and then I'll move back to digits and I'll place it in there. Now, of course, the source is wrong, right? Because we don't want to have the Island Snow thing in there, and so we should say images digits header .jpg. Okay, so let's take a look and see what our application looks like at this point. Okay, well, not so good. I mean, good in some sense. We've got the image there, but we can see that we've got a some vertical spacing here. That's probably from our padding where we were moving things down below the menu. Now we're going to have an image followed by the menu. And also this thing looks funky. It's like way too big. So let's fix both of those things. First thing we can do is we can go into the, the first thing we can do is we can say image style equals max height, let's just say 200 pixels. Okay, and we'll save that. And if we go back to here and take a look, okay, well that's it's kind of funky, but it's not too bad when it's at a kind of a less extreme width. But we've still got all that space at the top, and we know that's because our style.css had that padding top, right? Because you had to do that when you have these menus that are fixed to the top. So if we get rid of that and take a look, okay, that's good. So now our picture comes at the top. We've still got a little space here. And probably the easiest way to figure out how to eliminate that space is to do a propeller J and then inspect. And what we find is that our menu has a margin of 14. So basically what we want to do is get rid of that 14 pixel margin on our menu. And we can do that. One way to do that is we can just add a style equals margin 0 pix to our menu. So let's save that out. Go look. Okay, that's much better. Let's see where we're at here. So we just removed the padding top. We made the title digits. We removed the padding top from the style.css. We added the image and adjusted the max height. And then we adjust the menu. So the next thing is to adjust the menu to say digits. So if we go back in here, our menu right now says Meteor application template. Let's just edit that to be digits. Go back here, save it, and see what we got. Okay, that's looking better. We eliminated the margin. We did that all right. So set the border radius to 0 to avoid the rounded corner. If you notice right there and at the bottom, you've got these rounded corners which look terrible. Well, not terrible. I mean, you barely notice them, but they're irritating, right? So let's fix that. And the way that you fix that is on your menu, you can say border radius 0 pix. And if we save that out and then move back, once Meteor gets done refreshing, you can see you got rid of those pixels because we no longer have that radius. Okay, so that's all looking good. We have our image, we have our menu, but the menu being black, I think, is kind of lame. So what I've asked you to do as part of this is to try using image color picker to find a color from your picture, so to make your menu a little nicer. So let's open this link in a new tab. And what we can do is upload our image. So we say choose file, and then there's our image. So we say open, send image. Okay, and so there's our image. So let's find some piece of it. Maybe that might be a nice menu color. Okay, so how are we going to replace the menu color? The way to do that is to say propeller shift J, and then let's inspect this. And what we find is that this UI inverted menu, that's the place where the background color is being set. So I'm going to copy that and go back here, and then in my style.css I'm going to add a new class, UI inverted menu, and then I can say background color, and the color that I want is the one from Color Picker Online. So let's go select that, and then we'll go back here and we'll paste that and put a semicolon in. Okay, so let's now see if we get a different digits menu. Yeah, how's that look? Okay, so that looks a lot better. Now the only thing that that I think could be improved here is that the sign-in font is kind of, you can't really see it that better. It would be nicer if it matched this one. So first, let's figure out what that color is. And so if we inspect that element, okay, what we find, let's see, and then we do computed. Okay, we find the color of it is this crazy RGBA thing. So let's select that. Okay, and then we got to figure out where that. Oh, now we got to figure out where that was actually defined, and we see that we could actually just take this as being the identifying classes for that particular object. So I'm going to do this, say that's what we want to edit, and then I got to go back and actually figure out what color that is. Sorry about that. So I'll go back to computed, and I didn't get the right thing, I think. Let's go here. There we go. And then we can say this, copy, and then back in here we can say color equals that. Let's add a semicolon, save it, go out here, and perfect. So this now matches that color, and it's got some nice contrast. So that looks pretty good. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so we adjusted the title and the login link colors because they were necessary. And now we have to add a semantic UI table. Okay, so we can look up the documentation here, and I say we just pick the first one, and here's an example here. And basically we've got to get something that looks like this: first, last address, phone, email. So let's just, I don't know, just copy and paste well, let's copy and paste the table class, the first little bit of this code, and then we've got to go into our not the layouts but our pages, and we look at our home page, and we're going to get rid of this stuff in here, and instead we're going to have a table, and we do want a UI container, but none of this other junk. So we'll just have a UI container, and then we've got to close off some tags here. So let's go back and see what we need. We need a first, last, address, phone, and email. So let's go first, last, address, and then phone, and then email. Okay, and then in the actual first line, so we'll say Philip Johnson, address 1680 East West Road, Honolulu, Hawaii. And then we need another TD, which is my phone. So I'll give you my office phone, 956-2489. And then I need email, which is johnson@hawaii.edu. Let's do a control. Okay, everything is properly formatted, although I don't know why that looks like that. So I'm just going to fix that so it all looks the same. Okay, so there's my table. So let's go back into, I don't need color picker anymore. Let's go back here and see. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now the funny thing is, you can see it's banged up right against our menu. It'd be nice if we had a few pixels, just like we have a few pixels separating the footer. So let's just fix that because we can. And the way we could fix that is up here we could say style equals margin top, I don't know, 20 pixels. Let's see how that goes. Save that out, go back over here, wait for Meteor to refresh. Yeah, that looks nice. So now we have to add Henry. I'm going to add Henry and Kim because they're my buddies, and I know they won't mind. So I'm going to say propeller C, propeller V. So Henry Casanova, and they happen to have the same address, but Henry's got a different, he's 2649. And you know, it's tempting to use, you know, bogus data when you're doing mockups. But I really recommend you use real data, because if you use real data, you are more likely to come up with issues than if you just make stuff up. So let's try to use the real stuff. Okay, so we'll save that, and we'll go look at digits, and there we go. Last thing I think we have to do is edit the footer. So in mine, I said something like made by Philip Johnson, ICS 314. So here mainly I just want you to find the footer, right? Footer's here. So let's just say made by Philip Johnson for ICS 314 fall 2016. You could, you know, you don't have to have exactly the text specified there, just something a little different so that you've got your own header. So we wait, made by Philip Johnson, ICS 314, and I do believe that's about it. So we have to now commit with this message. So go here, and we're in digits, homepage mockup complete, commit and sync. And I think we are done. We'll call that 27 minutes, which is fairly long. But remember, we spent, I don't know, 8 minutes just getting set up to get, you know, off to the races. So really it was about 20 minutes to make that mock-up. And you know, that's you know, I think that's pretty fast. You know, but maybe you'll do it even faster than I did. I don't know. All right, so that's the first part of our digits mockup. Hope you enjoyed it. I think our next pages are going to go faster. I sure hope they do. I hope you enjoy this.